Absolutely. Tell your husband to show up next time. Slacker. Send his wife. And while you're out there. Hey, how you doing?
Very coincidentally. My question's also from my husband.
Honestly, I'm fine with that because I don't want any more dudes here. I like the ratio. I like the 1 to 700 ratio of women to men.
So when I told him that you were one of the guests, he said, "Oh, I know the perfect question you have to ask." So how was it to wear Raleigh Fingers mustache?
Ah, Raleigh Fingers mustache. There's 4 people like, ha ha. There's a commercial I do for Pepsi Max, which is. Thank you very much. 0 calories. Chad doesn't need that. Even a regular Pepsi. Raleigh Fingers, baseball legend. We did a commercial with a bunch of baseball players. And if you haven't seen the commercial, it is Raleigh Fingers.
Field and Drains.
Yeah, it's a take off the Field and Drains, and he gives me his mustache, his curly mustache at the end. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was great meeting Raleigh Fingers.
That's what I was thinking.
It was a real trip. And you know, it's interesting, what was really interesting was watching Raleigh Fingers and the various generations of baseball talk baseball. You know, just being listening. Because you're talking about Raleigh Fingers and some of those older players who played when you played professional baseball and then went to your job at the hardware store to make ends meet. Like, you know, the athletes weren't making just buckets of money like they do now. So it's such a different era, and they're legends. I mean, they're Hall of Famers. And yet guys who are not in the Hall of Fame just make the blinding amount of money. It's changed so much, the game. Excuse me, I think I'm in seat A12. Is this? No. Is it? I don't know. I think you're in my seat, sir. I'm just going to take this seat and just show up Ethel. It was fantastic. It was really, really cool. And Randy Johnson, it was an interesting story, is that it was my cousin had a little kid in South Carolina, first grader, was doing, anybody remember the book Flat Stanley?
Oh, yeah.
They were doing in his school a project called, you know, Flat Your Name Here, where you had to make a flat version of yourself and mail it to somebody in your family out of state to take around their city or take to work, or whatever. And so they sent it to me. So I had Flat Thomas with me for a week. And I decided to take Flat Thomas to work, rather than just around Los Angeles, because everybody's seen the Hollywood sign and all that stuff. I took Flat Thomas to work, and work was shooting that Pepsi commercial. So I don't have my picture with any of those guys, but I've got 11 Hall of Famers holding a 6-inch version of my nephew, including 6'11" Randy Johnson, who's like literally, well, it's like Jared holding me. I mean, it's really this tiny little thing. And I did the report, and I printed it up, and I explained, you know, this is the cameraman, this is the dolly grip, these are the guys, you know, everybody's job. I took pictures and sent it out. And I knew that my nephew would think, oh neat, I'll turn it on, turn it in, it'll be my project, great. But I knew that his dad would crap his pants when he saw who was on, and he did. He was like, holy mackerel, what the hell? I'm not turning this in, I'm keeping it. So that was my other baseball story. But yeah, you tell your husband it was quite a lot of fun.
I will, thank you.
Almost as fun as wearing the porno mustache. Yes, young lady.
Hi.
Hello.
You were in a TV show called Look.
Yeah, did somebody feed you that? Like, do you already know it? Because you're reading the question.
Yes. My friend is that.
Where is she?
She is in row E.
And what's wrong? She don't want to ask?
She doesn't like my mom, okay, so I'm the go-to girl.
Come here, let's go talk. I think she should be comfortable with this. This is, go on. Oh
my gosh.
Kayla, why don't you want to ask me a question?
The show.
There's no verb in there. Why? Let's try again. What is it about me that puts your What's your name? She hit you.
I know.
You gonna sue?
Yeah, I could.
This is America.
Oh, it's Canada.
It's North America. Hello. No, you can't finish the question. Come here. And you both guys. This is the best way to answer the question. It's not. I'm fine with you reading the question, but you're going to do it from the stage. So now, you don't have to read the question, it's no big deal. You can read the question. No, okay. Here we go with the question.
So you need to know about the book since we're in it. And I was wondering how they filmed the show and was it real security cameras?
Oh, the show Look. I already know how it was filmed because I was in it. And was it real security cameras in the show Look? Did you watch Look? Did you like Look? It's kind of disturbing a little bit, right? Yeah, well. So I guess, nobody likes the rapist, I guess. Alright, thank you. I'll answer. I won't make you stand here and clap. Thank you. The answer to the question is, for Look, it was not real security cameras. What they did is they sort of set up, but they would put the cameras in places as if it were security cameras. So they would put 4 or 5 cameras in a location, and we would shoot the scene one time. That's why they could cut from one camera to the next, and you'd see the continuous action. Because they would place them on high tripods and from those kind of angles, so it cut together. It wasn't actual security cameras, but they just put them where security cameras would be. That kind of thing. So that was it. I think we were hoping it would go more, but Showtime decided not so much. So it was a one-shot deal. Have you ever seen the movie? There's a film, because the series was based on a movie called of the same title, Look. The movie's worth watching. It's really good. I'm not in it, but I'm still promoting it. It's good. It's a good movie. All right, thank you very much. You don't even need to- How are you?
I'm not bad yourself.
I'm pretty good.
That was all my question though.
Okay, well then.
We know the backstory to Castiel's Vessel for Jenny. Had you were given complete creative freedom, what kind of backstory would you write for Gabriel's Vessel?
Well, I think it's actually. I don't think I have total creative freedom. I think it's kind of laid out in the story because he says he's in witness protection. And he took over some trickster.
Okay.
So I feel like he's in the actual form of
So he's
the
actually
real trickster. Yeah, because otherwise, how does he fool Kali and everybody else? They actually think he's that guy. So my theory is somewhere the real trickster is locked in a box so that he wouldn't blow Gabriel's cover.
Okay.
That's actually, and that's what I always thought the episode. If I could come back on the show, that's the episode I want to do. I want to break the actual trickster out of the box. So I actually think it's kind of dictated by the story.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, and happy birthday, Luke.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, you.
I was wondering, what's your favorite trick that the trickster has pulled on the boys? And if you had a trick, what would you play on them?
Okay, I get this question fairly frequently because it's a legitimate question, and I will say my favorite trick that the trickster plays, aside from the overall run of Mystery Spot, which is just a funny gag, making them relive that day over and over again, is the alien probing. Because what's not funny about probing? But I want you to tell me what trick you would play. I answered a lot. You can YouTube it. I want to know what you think. What trick would you play on those guys if you could? If you go like, it was done.
Body switch?
Body switch. Those two together or
Yes.
each of them? switch those two, it's not very different. One has hair. One's slightly taller. You mean like you would become one of them and they would become you?
Interesting.
I wouldn't want to see them in open-toed sandals. I'd be afraid of that. Okay, they could work. That could be fun. I always say I would like to make them short. That's kind of my running thing with them. I think it'd be fun to have them be small with squeaky New Jersey accents. Instead of their Texas swagger. Just see how that plays. See how well that works at the singles bars. You know what I mean? Not so popular now, are you? Yay, bros. You're welcome. Good answer. Body's one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What would you think you consider your first big break in acting? And did you go out and celebrate it by getting yourself something or going out and have a fancy meal or something like that?
I think my first, I wouldn't say first big break, my first real job, I did a series, first job that was significant for me was I did 13 episodes of a series, it was a Saturday morning sitcom, many, many years ago, called Running the Halls, short-lived, 13 episodes. And I celebrated by going out and buying myself a pair of shoes. Sounds bizarre, right? But I did, because at the time I had no money. And I wasn't making that much money on the show, but I got the job, which enabled me to quit the restaurant I was working in. I was a host at a restaurant. And I was so glad not to be wearing the black pants, black shoes, and white shirt and vest that I've been wearing the last 6 months, that I went out to Melrose Boulevard and bought myself a pair of Doc Martens. That was my big purchase. That was my big celebration. And I still have those shoes, by the way. I kept them as my little token of like my first job, you know, my first cool job. I had done other small things, but was still having to work side jobs, and this was the first job that enabled me just to do this for a living. So that's what I bought. Exciting, I never think, oh wow, I'd love to see those shoes. Yes, you.
Hi. My question was, what was your first reaction when you found out you were, moving from just a creature to like Gabriel, the archangel? Like,
A creature? This is a supernatural convention, you know. I remember I was so excited to be walking upright that I was thrilled.
Oh my God.
Well, let's see. I was really surprised. Both that I was a creature and that I was turning from a creature to Archangel. I was really surprised. I didn't, because they never tell me anything. So I would just get a phone call saying, hey, you want to do an episode? And I'd say, great. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I would go and show up for the episode or get the script a couple days in advance and do my thing, and that'd be all she wrote. For this one, I'm reading it, and it reads like a normal Trickster episode. The first, two-thirds, whatever. I'm sending the guys to various television shows, and get, kicked in the crotch by a Japanese game show, normal Trickster stuff. And then I flipped the page, and that whole revelation scene, I was stunned, shocked. And then I thought, oops, I better figure out, I better do some homework here to see what, the backstory is on this, because this is such a big turn. I want to be sure that I'm honoring the other parts of the story they've been telling. So I called production. Production put me in touch with Jeremy Carver, who wrote the episode. And Jeremy Carver and I were on the phone, and he said, look, I looked up Gabriel, and I read about all the things he did with Mary, and the birth of Christ, and all these things. And I said, yeah, we don't really go by the Bible. Let me send you some episodes. And then he sent me some episodes that were leading up to the show we were about to shoot. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, this is not biblical. And I understood then what they were going for, but it was really, really, a shock, but really cool also, because from an acting standpoint, you don't get to play two characters in one episode like that. So that was awesome. Getting to play the guy that I'd already developed, and then turn and play something new. So that was really, really
And
cool.
the
Were you surprised?
Slightly, yes.
Slightly?
Yes. But I was happy that they gave you that kind of responsibility because I knew you would be able to carry that character.
Right.
I'm not sucking up here, I'm just being honest.
God, it's so embarrassing when people brown nose me. Fine, you get an A. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, that was what made it so much fun. It's fun to do. It's fun to get stuff to do, and they gave me a lot of stuff to do in the show. So I see you. I met Jeremy Carver, by the way. I was talking to Jeremy about the episode after it aired. I called him and I said, man, because he wrote the crap out of that thing. It's really well written. And I said, Jeremy, just great job in the episode. So well written. Those words translated so well to film. It worked. It looked great. You got to be thrilled. Congratulations. And he said, thank you. I really appreciate that. By the way, are you usually hanging out, picking kumquats on the corner of, blah, 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 blah street? I go, yeah. He said, walk my dog past your house every morning. Turned out Jeremy and I were neighbors. I had no idea. I've never seen the guy, so I wouldn't spot him. So he knew me. He was seeing me in my road picking kumquats. Which is how most people will meet, I think. Most friendships are formed that way. And then, another Jeremy Carver story. So I'm at a photography store last week. And I'm waiting for them to get printed up. And I go and I sit down at these giant, coffee table books out, displaying some of their artists' work. And it's open to a picture of writers striking during the writer's strike. And front and center is Jeremy Carver holding a sign. Like writer's strike on demand. I'm like, oh wow, thanks. Now I know you, because I pick kumquats. I know who you are. I can appreciate you're in this book. Yes, everybody.
Hi. At another convention, you said you weren't given that much initial direction when you were cast as the trickster. So how much of yourself did you put in the role?
That's an interesting question. I wasn't given a lot of instruction when I got the job, which made it a little bit of a guessing game. Although the script, leads you pretty close to what they want in the character, but you have to make a lot of choices on your own, as you do with any character. The question has been put to me, how much of myself is in that character? And I think, obviously, I have a tendency to, I enjoy humor, and I, have done a lot of humor in comedy in my day, and have a pretty decent sense of comic timing, so that naturally that's what they're looking for in the character. They weren't looking for a somber guy. They're playing this high energy sort of guy. So I think innately there's a lot of that permeates the performance. But I will say, just for the sake of explaining any acting job, I think you are always a part of your acting job. You're always a part of the character, because there's something, you can change, you shave your head, put on 300 pounds, change your outfit, speak with a British dialect, but there's some essence of yourself that always comes through in a character, which is what makes some people just really, really, really fascinating to watch, regardless of what they're playing. Gary Oldman. Somebody like that, doesn't matter what he does, you can watch that man watch TV, and it's engaging. There's just something that comes through him that's phenomenal. And certain actors who have that make them excellent. Certain actors who don't have that. You ever see somebody who you think is pretty good, and then you get a role that really requires more of them, and then the ball just kind of hits the ground? Because it's a lot of acting is talent that's innate talent. It's like being a sprinter. You can't make a slow person fast. You can make a fast person faster, or maximize their speed, but you can't take somebody who literally can't run and make them a world-class sprinter. It doesn't work that way. I think acting for a lot of people is that way as well. It's a gift for those who are really, really good at it. Like Gary Oldman, again, I reference him, but I'm a giant fan of this. And I think that you see this in any character you play, it comes through. I mean, Misha is coming through in Castiel as much as he's coming through in Jimmy. Now, those of you who spent time with him on conventions, he's a radically funny man. And dark.
Dark.
Right?
Yes.
And some of that comes into play in his character when he wants it to or when he needs it to. But the rest of him that's dialed back and is playing that sort of reserve side is just as much him as the funny stuff. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of me, I think, does come through. This is the world's longest answer to the question. Ever. You sit there going, why did I do this? I pass out. This is like being at a wedding. The answer to your question is yes. No, that's what I'm saying. Yes, I think a lot of me comes through the trickster, but I think it comes through in other things I play as well. I think it just happens to be that the side you see of me that does these convention works in concert with what they wanted that character to be.
Thank you.
She's gonna leave. I'm never asking a question again. First time in my life. Hey, how are you?
I'm fine.
Everybody's like, I had a question, but no, never mind. Thank you.
I recently saw Open Water 2 and disturbing movie. And
Yes.
I was wondering what that experience was like. Were you actually in the ocean, swimming around? Did you
Open Water 2.
swimming without your, keep up, by the way.
Did you hear that high pitch? It's almost like she got bleeped. Swimming without your... And did you say I had a cute butt? Young lady, this is a professional venue.
So, were you actually in the ocean?
Yeah, we shot that in the Mediterranean. We shot that on the island of Malta. And about half the movie is shot in the open ocean, and the other half is shot in a water tank they have in Malta where they shot White Squall and a bunch of movies. It's built for shooting big boat movies. It's got wave machines, and it's on an infinity horizon with the ocean, so you look like you're in the open ocean. And so we were in the water, treading water, 3-4 hours a day for 2.5 months.
Oy.
And it was phenomenal. I said, I'm a scuba diver, I love the water, love the ocean. So for me, it was a phenomenal experience. And great people and a really interesting job, because when you're doing an acting job on land, they say, okay, on action, you're gonna walk to the chair, you're gonna say a line, then you're gonna walk on. So you go, action, you're like, oh no, I won't, Carl. Cut, thank you. And so, you try that in the water. They had this boat on land, this little toy boat, and the director, who was German, who's Bavarian, he go, all right, so what you do, Richard, you come over here, and you swim here, and you say to Amy, and then you go over here, and he's got 6 guys, and he's showing us where each character's going to go during the blocking. So they get in the water with the cameraman, who's also floating, and got the camera in a waterproof box, and they say, action, and you're going to say your line, and you get drifted over here. And they spill your tea. No, so that's what happens. It becomes really difficult. And then we would do these scenes where you're supposed to be sitting in front of the boat, and the current is so strong that underwater you're kicking like mad to look like you're standing perfectly still. So you're kicking underwater like this, and above you're going, I don't see the problem. We should just go over there. They don't cut you. So that part was challenging. You're acting on a conveyor belt. Someday I'm Carrot Top. I got drama comedy. But it was a great experience. It was a great experience. It was a really fun group of people and a fun film to do. Thank you. And yes, I got stung by jellyfish. We all got stung by jellyfish. And when you get stung by jellyfish, and you come out of the water, and people say, you know they'll cure that right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Human urine. You say, I'm fine with the sting. I'm good with the sting. I'm good with the sting. I'm okay with the scarring. Yes, young lady.
Hi.
Hello.
So, as you know, percentage-wise, and this is a really stupid way to say that, percentage-wise, you're in Supernatural, a fairly small amount compared to the...
Very small amount.
But you have this resonance with the fans. Recently, I was linked to a video on YouTube of one of your Pepsi Max commercials where you snap, and like 8,000 comments were, it's the trickster! So, problem for your other work, or is that something that has added to, you
No,
know?
it's not a problem. I mean, having people like what you do is never a problem. And having those people who like what you do follow you on something else is definitely never a problem. The Pepsi people were thrilled. Look, those things are on YouTube. They want an audience. They want people to think the commercials are funny. They want people to forward them to their friends. They want that. And what they didn't know was that you people existed. They had no idea. So we do the commercial, the first one, where I'm thrown through the window, and we go to do the second commercial with Snoop Dogg and his people, and the people who make the commercial came over and they're like, oh man, the commercial's great. And there's just a phenomenal following for you. People keep logging on and talking about you. Who the hell is Gabriel? And I said, well, I tried to explain, like, no, actually we Googled it, we figured it out. But at first they're going, people love him, but why the hell are they calling him that? But there's one lady, Amy, and if you're watching this on YouTube, Amy, you know who you are. I'll take your name. She loves Supernatural. Pepsi executive loves Supernatural. So when we were doing the Snoop commercial that you were referencing, and it came to do the snap for all the lights to come on, you guys know the commercial I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Snoop comes out of the Mayan temple of Pepsi Max. So originally it was a switch that I flipped. And the director was like, no, the switch, nah, I don't like the switch, do the snap. So we did the snap as a take, and I went to Amy and I said, you know, if you use the snap,